Hello.
That went well.
Okay, here we go. Hello, music lovers. How are you doing? Welcome to Full Record Jacket with Phil and Ben. Oh, yes, I just did a full start there, which I've clipped off the recording, but it amused
You've
Ben
clipped
because
off the top of your head as well.
I
You're
essentially.
just
Oh, I'm going to need to get back a bit. I essentially coughed while I was saying hello. I just went into a terrible cough.
you coughed up half your body mass, I think.
So here we are yet again, and we're bringing it back, folks. We're bringing back music news. We used to do this when we started this show. We used to do this.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did used to do music news, and we got quite good at it.
We spent about 10 minutes doing it. We just would look at what's happening in the world of music and bring you those headlines, just in case you'd missed any of the stories. So what has been happening in the world of music, Ben? What have you found?
Well, what I found, Philster, is music these days is pretty boring. I am looking at a story here that apparently this is from NME. Eddie Van Halen took a whole bottle of steroid pills before death as they made him feel like Superman.
What's this to do with the surgery that he had?
Yeah, he had a brain tumour, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I mean, taking the whole bottle, even when you're sort of halfway through the bottle, something's going to be telling you, this is not going to end well.
No, that's pretty
Unless
extreme.
he wanted to be like Ben Johnson in the 1988 Olympics in Seoul, and he really, really wanted that gold medal.
Now, here's one. Kate Bush might be making some new music. It says here, according to the BBC, she shied away from the spotlight in recent years. She shied away from the spotlight for as long as I can pretty much remember, to be quite honest.
I think she is. There is the spotlight is not on Kate Bush, is it at all? She's never in it.
Now, she told today on Radio 4 that there are lots of ideas that she wants to pursue, and she said, I'm really looking forward to getting back into the creative space. It's been a long time. So 2011 was the last time that she had a new album.
Is that the album? It looks like a sunset on the cover.
Well, it was called 50 Words for Snow. Do you remember that one? Are you thinking of Ariel? Are you thinking of that one?
I think I might be thinking of Ariel, yeah.
That's 2006, I think, maybe.
Yeah, that wasn't as long a break, was it? I literally just typed in Kate Nash into my phone. That's a blast from the past. I wonder what Kate Nash is up to. Last time I saw Kate Nash, nothing to do music news. She was in the Horrible Histories movie.
So, I don't talk about Kate Bush. It just reminded me of a guy I used to know. I used to go when I first went self-employed. I used to go to these business network events, and sometimes
thinking of Ariel.
Sometimes you would see the same people very regularly, and there was one or two people that would only come occasionally. And there's one guy who ran a web development company, and every now and again he would show up at the business networking events. And I said to him, "Oh, it's been a long time since we've seen you," because he said, "Yeah, I'm back," And I said, but everyone still remembered him. And I said to him, you're a bit like Kate Bush, because you go away for ages and you come back and everyone still loves you. And he laughed, and he thought that was very funny. But I don't know why I've just thought of that when talking about Kate Bush.
Well, she does have a tendency of being elusive. Doesn't she live down in Cornwall or something like that?
I think she lives down in the southwest somewhere, I believe.
Yeah, I'm just having a look. She has had Before the Dawn, which was a live album. And then she had a compilation out. I think it must be B-sides, called The Other Sides in 2019.
Okay.
I don't mind a bit of Kate Bush. I mean, I'm not a massive sort of... And I think she's another one of those artists of... I like the singles, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I must confess that
also sounds like the worst Tinder bio. Ben, 45. I like the singles.
I've only just got that. I have never been deeply into Kate Bush. I respect what she does, and obviously I know the well-known songs. I haven't listened to many of the albums. I've never done a really serious study. And she's one of those artists where I've always thought at some point I'll just go through all the Kate Bush stuff and see
Yeah.
why people are so devoted to her. But it's never. I can't say that it's immediately clicked with me that I've really wanted to dive straight in. So yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? There's some artists, but I'm not ruling it out. I could within the next year. Who knows? I might do it. I might become a massive Bush mega fan.
A big fan of the Bush.
I just knew that this was going to go in that direction. How did I know that you were going to go there?
I wasn't going to say anything, but I tell you what, the thought of you having a deep dive in the Bush is a really good.
I just knew that was going to come out. I just knew it.
What, out of the Bush?
Yeah.
I'm just having a look through music news now, Philster, and this is the level that music news is at. Lily Allen now makes more from feet pics than she does from Spotify.
Well, you may have something in common with Tony Blackburn, as well as being a pop picker, because the legendary DJ he's now 81 now, Tony Blackburn, and of course he's retiring soon, isn't he? He said, I think, and he said that quote, modern music that's being made today won't last 60 years.
I've said this about Taylor Swift, and you're not having it.
We don't. Yeah, of course, we never know for absolutely sure what's going to be popular in 50 years' time, or what people are still going to think is good in 50 years' time. So it's impossible to know for sure. Although, of course, this just popped into my head, the Beatles for Sale LP. In the sleeve notes to that, the journalist who wrote that sleeve note, I can't remember his name, he actually said there, the children of the year 2000 will still listen to the Beatles. And that was quite prophetic of him, wasn't it, really, when you think about that? That a lot of people must have poo-pooed that at the time, surely. Because
the year 2000... sleeve notes?
That felt a long time away, didn't it? The year 2000, in the 60s, that felt very futuristic.
Well, when was Beatles for Sale? 65?
Yeah, late 64.
So late 64. So say 65. So what? It was 35 years away. The year 2000.
Yeah.
My maths serves me right.
And the year 2000 sounded futuristic, didn't it, at the time?
Yeah. And we're all going to be wearing tin foil.
Flying around on jetpacks and living like the Jetsons. And
being on Mars.
Yeah.
Which is, do you know what? This brings me back to why I have an issue with Busted's 3000 song. Year 3000. Have you heard that? I've been to the year 3000.
I haven't heard it.
Well, it goes, not much has changed, but they live underwater. And it's like, if you got home and your house was completely submerged in water, that's a big change. If you're not much has changed, is everybody's living underwater, that's a big change. And also, the year 3000, so that's 1,000 years from more or less when that song came out. There's a line that goes, and your great granddaughter is pretty fine. Now that's 3 great granddaughters. Unless people are living 200 years, that is not spanning 1,000 years. So I'm just saying, whoever wrote those lyrics need to go back to the drawing board.
They didn't think it out, did they? Really? No.
So I'm just having a look through here, and Grateful Dead's Phil Lesh has died. Phil, I'm not a massive listener of the Grateful Dead.
You're not a deadhead. I'm not really a deadhead either.
No.
Remind me, what instrument was he? Was he a guitarist?
He was a guitarist, yes. Or was he a bassist? Was he a bassist? Let's have a look. He was the bassist.
He was the bass. Okay.
He was the bassist. Right. So he has died aged. He died October the 25th. So he died sadly Friday morning. and he passed away. He was 84.
I believe that he was one of the ones that was with it the whole time, wasn't he? All the way through the band's existence, I think.
Yeah, I don't know a great deal about the Grateful Dead's back catalogue, so I'm not going to. In modern times, the only thing that makes me think about the Grateful Dead is it the Cooler Shaker song that says about you'd be grateful when you're dead from the
Okay.
K album. I think that's the only thing that I mean, you could tell me a song, I wouldn't know it's the Grateful Dead.
Well, the only other reference I can think of to the Grateful Dead in popular music is in "The Boys of Summer" by Don Henley. Well, everyone knows that, don't they? Played on the radio all the time.
Yeah.
It's something about I saw a Deadhead sticker on a Cadillac,
Yes, yeah.
which was a sort of a commentary on the 80s, that all these people who had been hippies in the 60s were now driving Cadillacs in the 80s. I think that's what he's trying to say anyway.
Yeah. All the non-conformists listen to the same obscure band. I'm having a look through new albums from this week, Philster, and it is literally like me showing you what albums I've bought, because even I am going, who? Now, bear in mind, this is on Pitchfork, and Pitchfork isn't going to have, like, Busted on there or an Enya album.
No, Pitchfork is... I've never heard of any of the stuff that they write about in Pitchfork.
No, have you heard? Now, let's have a little quiz. Have you heard of Two Shell?
No.
They've got an album out called Two Shell. Two Shell, hush, hush. Have you heard of Anna McLennan?
I don't think I have. The name may be vaguely familiar, but I can't say I have a definite.
She's got an album out, Electric Bouquet.
Hey, have you heard of the Manic Street Preachers?
I have.
They've got a new album out on, coming up in January, their 15th album. Did you know that?
Oh, have they?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I should know this because I was actually looking into the Manic Street Preachers only the other day because I was trying to find Everything Must Go on vinyl, which I struggled. And then I was going through their back catalogue, and there's an album from 2009 which they used a lot of Richie Edwards's lost lyrics to make the album, and it's supposed to be a really good album, and I've never listened to it, and it gets big reviews everywhere. So I was looking into the Manic Street Preachers the other day.
Okay.
So I am going to be digging out that album from 2000. I think it's 2009. So I'm going to give that a listen to. But I'm just... Pom Pom Squad, have you heard of them?
Oddly enough, no.
No, they've got an album out. Second Grade, heard of them?
Nope.
They've got an album out. Felicia Atkinson.
Nope.
No, she's got an album out as well. And Marmaduke Sandwiches.
I can't say I have.
No, and Hippo's Feet.
Again, yet to land anywhere near me.
No, because those last two I made up anyway, so... Such is the level
I believed they were real bands. I believe that.
Do you know what? If there's anybody listening wants some band names, come to me. So this week in music, I know Beyonce was on stage with Kamala Harris this week.
I think they've all been on stage with Kamala Harris this week, haven't they? Is there a music star who hasn't? Yeah.
I think they just thought they were getting on stage with Calvin Harris and were sadly disappointed when they got there. An LCD sound system might not have a new album Primavera out by 2025, apparently.
Have you heard of The Who?
Who?
I knew that was going to be
yeah.
Who's Next album's coming out on SDE exclusive Blu-ray audio. So it's a super deluxe edition of the album is going to be released on Blu-ray audio. That's a great super deluxe edition, Who's Next? Because, of course, The Who were working on this Pete Townsend project in the early 70s called Lifehouse, which he never quite finished, and they put together instead a 9-track album, which became the legendary Who's next album. There were lots of leftover songs, and some of them came out on singles, and some were put on different things. But it's a great body of work. That I have listened to some of that super deluxe version. I can't talk about the high fidelity pure audio version because I haven't heard that. But yeah, I have been listening to a bit of the Who recently. So
the Blu-ray, do you just put that in a CD player?
I think ideally, if you're a hi-fi, audiophile, then you'd get a Blu-ray audio player, I believe. I think you could. I don't know whether you can just play it through a regular Blu-ray machine, Blu-ray capable machine, then you can still hear the audio. But obviously, if you want to have high-end, you've probably got to have a high-end machine to hear that on.
So does this mean all these will get made redundant?
I don't know. I mean, I know. Well, it all depends on the individual recording, doesn't it? This whole debate about vinyl versus digital is complex, to say the least.
Well, I have said this before, Philster, that unless you've got the best stylus, the best cartridge, the best turntable, the best speaker wire, the best amp, and the best speakers, are you ever going to hear what you're supposed to hear? And I've said this before, my ears only ever hear what they're going to hear. It doesn't matter if it's a poor mono version, whatever. My brain just goes, well, that's what it's supposed to sound like. But do you reckon, actually, on that, if like my cartridge and stylus was a few £100, if I got one for £6,000 and put it, because I've seen some for £6,000, and put it into my turntable, would there be that sort of £5,500 difference in sound quality? Would you actually hear that?
Well, I can't answer the question because I haven't done it, so I wouldn't know for sure. But I think you have to be a big audiophile. I've never gone down the route of becoming too much of an audiophile, partly because I think it's a never-ending quest that you can never be satisfied.
You're never going to find perfection, are you? Because you're always striving for that perfect sound.
My feeling is that I want something that's reasonably decent. If I enjoy it, my main thing is that I can enjoy listening to it, because some hi-fi systems just... I equate this to wine, right? You can be, I suppose, to some extent, trained to appreciate wine more if you go. I'm not into wine, right? But if you go to these wine tasting things, perhaps people can gradually say, well, compare that to that, and you can gradually become more discerning about the flavors and whatever.
Yeah.
But there's some wine that will just react to your palate. You won't like the flavor of it, right? As much as another one. And even if people might say, well, that's a more expensive wine, you might still not. It might just not agree with you, right? So it doesn't matter how. So with audio systems, it might be a good one, but sometimes you can just sort of get your ears, you can get fatigued by the distortions in it. There's inherent distortion in any. There's no perfect reproduction. So you can have a hi-fi system which, for some reason, doesn't quite agree with your ears or your brain. And after a while of listening to it, you get bored. It's very it's a subconscious thing. You lose interest in the music after a while. Yeah. Listener fatigue, basically. So my main thing is I want something that I can enjoy listening to and not get bored. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the best audio system in the world, but if I can enjoy listening to it and it suits,
I suppose that's the main thing, isn't it?
That's the main thing. But yeah, I don't know how easily you could tell the difference between those different styli. I mean, you'd have to have very good quality records as well, wouldn't you? That were well looked after, and you'd have to be comparing them on effectively the same system. But to do a comparative testing is so hard as well, because we're so sensitive to the volume level. So if you play one thing, whether you're comparing a CD to a record or digital file, whatever, you play one and then you've got to switch to the other one. And if the volume level is slightly different, it throws out your whole ability to discern the difference. Because if something's a little bit louder, it suddenly sounds better.
Yeah, I remember looking on eBay, and there was some speaker wire on there, a meter. I think it was a meter or 2 meters. That's irrelevant. Go on, have a guess how much it was.
don't know, a few £100 for some wire.
15 grand.
15 grand for speaker cable. That's crazy. Yeah, and I think you're going
Originally, bear in mind it was second hand. Apparently, when it was new, it was £90,000. Now, if
Yeah,
you were to buy that because you were bored or you're Jeff Bezos,
yeah,
you're not gonna. After a while, you're just gonna. I know this has nothing to do with music news. Maybe it is. This is news, people. Your ears are only going to hear what they're going to hear, aren't they?
yeah. I think it's really difficult to tell whether some of these things, like changing the speaker cable, really makes a difference, because once you've spent that money, you're going to want to hear a difference, aren't you, as well?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's the psychological aspect of it as well. Yeah. But certainly it's true that, I mean, I've done it in the past, been to hi-fi shops and tried different speakers, and they've rigged them up and played certain tracks for me, and then played them on the other speakers. And there are differences for sure, differences at the different ends of the, different types of bass reproduction. Some sound drier and the bass sounds different. But I think you can go, this is it. It all depends how far you want to go with it, but you'll never be completely satisfied, because there'll always be something else that you're hankering after.
Always striving for something better.
Yeah.
Well, that was a wormhole we went down, Philster.
It was a wormhole. It's interesting, isn't it? Because some people are more into the hi-fi aspect of music, and other people are much less interested. And some people, I think, are into music much more for the emotional aspect, and they're much less geeky about the technical aspect. And other people are more, it's got to be technically sounding good for them.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've seen some YouTube videos where people have got these immense setups and everything is. I'm just like that. If you saw the state of the cables going for my amp into the switch box, I've got the channel switch box at the back, you would have a fit. It literally looks like a car crash has happened. So, I have got some other music news.
Hit us with it.
Some good music news for you, Philster, and that is that The Cause are not releasing a new album this year.
That could be good news.
That could be good news.
That could be good.
I feel there could be some other music news. I might be trying to get tickets for Elbow next year. They're playing Warwick next year, July 2025. I know you've still yet to listen to much Elbow, if any.
Not in depth. Not really beyond the seldom seen kid, I have to say.
Yeah.
Are they having a digital ticket queue, a digital race to get the tickets? Because if they opened a physical box office and said you had to queue, you could be like, who could elbow their way to the front first? You like that one?
I did like that one, actually. And to be fair, I saw it coming a mile off, and I was still mesmerised when it actually happened. So, but I'm going to try and get to the Elbow next year. That's hopefully give me my summer venture out. But then again, I've got two summer ventures out, because I've obviously got the Oasis gig as well next July at Cardiff.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. We'll build up to that at the time for sure.
Yes, we will. But apart from that, Phil, there's not a lot happening in the music world, in music news this week, is there?
Well, in that case, even though we've done a show that's twice as long as we used to do for music news, despite there being no much
music news.
I
bet if you took out the non-music news from this show, it's 2 minutes long.
Probably.
Yeah.
Viewer, listener, thank you for joining us. We'll be back with another show very soon. All the best. Bye for now.